Hello and welcome to another IC Monitor tutorial. With today's tutorial, we're going to get you started using the IC Monitor with a simple TCP/IP network capture. We're going to learn how to configure an interface and use it to capture data from the network. We're going to briefly look at the most important elements of the graphical user interface. We're going to, of course, capture data and save and export that data to various file formats. When you open the IC Monitor, it'll start you off in the Capture tab, which houses all the relevant settings for network data capture. Now, to actually capture telegrams and data from the network, we need to select an interface from which to capture the telegrams, which is done in the Capture Interfaces dialog. Just go in here, and we'll get a list of all the interfaces on the PC, sorted by the underlying technology that they're capturing with. In our case, we're going to go with the PCAP interfaces, and pick the Ethernet interface 0, which is the only one that's IPv4 enabled on my PC. You also get some attributes of the interfaces to make it easy to identify them, like the MAC address and the IP4 address and the interface's name. Now we could start capturing right away by clicking Start here, but we first want to look at some settings, so we'll close this dialog with the interface we want selected. Aside from capturing telegrams on the network, the IC Monitor can also assist you in finding the data that you're actually looking for. One way to do this is reducing the amount of data that you're actually capturing by applying trigger and filter conditions to your capture process. When you're working with an existing capture or a capture file that somebody sent you, you can then apply display filters to the telegrams listed in here, and thus make it easier for you to find the data you're actually looking for. When working with telegrams in the IC Monitor, it's important to understand that the IC Monitor sees telegrams and their fields as nodes. In the nodes view, you can see all the nodes that are known to IC Monitor with the licenses you have active. Now, to actually get data, we need to capture it, and we can start capture by just starting live capture here, or using the quick access menu, which is always available no matter which view you currently have open. All the concepts and features that we've just briefly touched on are explained in dedicated videos, which are linked in the upper right-hand side of your screen. Let's go ahead and create some telegrams that we can capture and identify using the IC Monitor. For this, I'm going to head to the command line and ping one of the devices in my network. I'm going to do this in perpetuity, adding the -t extension to the ping command, so we have a steady stream of data that we can identify. And here we go. We have replies and pings every second. So we know we have a data stream which should contain ICMP packets, which is the protocol facilitating the ping. We can now start the live capture, either with the Start Live Capture button or using the quick access up here. And we start capturing data on the network. As we can see, this is quite a busy network. There's thousands of packets being captured, and it quickly becomes unfeasible to manually search for the telegrams we're looking for. So one way to narrow down the data that we actually want to see is using a display filter. We go up here, type in the protocol we're looking for. As soon as the IC Monitor recognizes it, the list here turns white. We can then enter it, becomes green, meaning that there's a display filter active. And as you can see, we now only have the ICMP packets visible. We can now pick one of the packets, click on it, and we'll see the nodes that it contains. And as expected, we have the Internet Protocol, or short IP. If we look in the header, it's version 4, because it's a version 4 address that we pinged, and it contains ICMP data. We can also see the data over here in the Telegram bytes view, which is quite handy when you're analyzing a proprietary protocol, which probably doesn't get resolved yet, so you can at least see the hex data that it contains. Of course, ICMP can be resolved, and we can expand it here and look through the various nodes. We can now stop the capture and go on to save our captured data. All the telegrams we captured can now be saved to a file, and it's important to notice that what we entered up here is a display filter. So we're going to save the 19,000 packets that we captured, and not only the telegrams that are displayed. So to save it, we go up here in the File menu, say Save Capture File, pick a name for it, and save it in one of the available formats. We advise that the PCAP-NG and PCAP files can also be interpreted by Wireshark, and of course the IC Monitor can load files that have been created with Wireshark. So we'll go ahead and save this, and we could now discard our capture and start fresh. That does it for today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see each other in the next tutorial.